In the cleaning and restoration industries, experience is valuable until it becomes a reason to stop learning. Today's conversation explores how years in the business can sometimes create blind spots when it comes to new technology, updated standards, customer expectations, documentation practices, and evolving industry procedures. And the reality is that what worked 15 or 20 years ago may no longer protect companies from liability, deliver the best customer experience, or align with today's professional expectations. So, on Unscripted today, we're going to talk about how seasoned professionals can stay sharp, remain teachable, and continue growing without losing the wisdom that made them successful in the first place. And to do this, I am pleased to welcome our panel from IICRC, Leslie Anderson, Mark Gibson, and Darren Foote. Pleasure to have you all with us today. Without further ado, let's get right into it. And Leslie, you get our first question as we think about our topic. What are some of the warning signs that experienced professionals may be relying too heavily on? We've always done it this way.
Good afternoon, Leslie Anderson. I'm the Senior Vice President of Training and Launch for Paul Davis out of Jacksonville, Florida. With the IICRC, I'm the past chairman and currently the chair of the education team at the IICRC. You know, when new folks are onboarding with an office, to me, when I'm watching them, it's how are they setting up a job to dry? Are they always setting the same dehumidifier, the same air movers? Perhaps they always move directly to demo. They don't go into what materials are present. How would I dry these? Adapting and problem solving, whether it's a residential or commercial structure, and how they would dry that building. Talking about standards and why they would use a particular methodology based on the standard practice. I think that's super important. And then for me, a tell is what is their openness to technology, because we've moved into that world where we're using it for mitigation, we're using it for documentation and notes. And if they're resistant to that, that too can be a telltale for me.
Darren, what would you like to add to this?
So I'm Darren Foote. I'm with LearnToRestore.com, an approved IICRC training facility we have here in Salt Lake with a flood house, as well as online training. We also have MIT Gear providing equipment and supplies to the restoration and cleaning industries. And I'm also a member of the board of directors with Leslie on the IICRC, as well as the vice chair over standards currently for restoration standards, and also the WRT water restoration technician technical advisory chair. And so just having some real fun being involved with the IICRC and all the good that they do there. Leslie always nails it. The way she says things and her insights are always so valuable. And I would just agree with that. In our classes, we see people who just don't really know that there's new equipment out there and new opportunities and new ways to dry things. They got something stuck in their head from forever ago about how it's all about grains per pound, which is important, but so many things like that. And we see so many people that are posting things or saying things about the standards that are dated. They're old. You know, the standards don't get updated; they get replaced, in essence, if you will. They get updated, but it's a new version. And so we see so many people relying on old things from the standards. And so I think those are some of the concerns and telltale signs, like she mentioned.
No, good addition. Appreciate that. Mark, let's go into our next question and start with you, and be sure to introduce yourself as well. Why do you think some veterans in the industry resist adapting to new tools, technology, or procedures, even when, as you look, the industry is clearly changing around them?
My name is Mark Gibson. I have been in the industry for, I don't know, I got my first certification in 1993. Now, the first carpet cleaning standard came out in 1991, and the first IICRC standard for upholstery came out in the year 2000. So in that short amount of time, the industry has changed a lot. I mean, it has changed. So there are so many things that are drastically different the way we used to do it. Carpet cleaners, there are some carpet cleaning companies that have regional success, and there are a few that are national franchises. By and large, most of the carpet cleaners are owner operators or an owner with maybe 2 or 3 trucks. in my opinion, the psychology behind that is they're people who didn't fit in as well to a office job or a factory job. They want to be in charge. They want to control their own destiny and do what they want to do. And when you tell them there's a better way to do it, they're not looking at it as instruction. They're looking at it as correction. They're not saying this is a better way. You're saying I've been doing it wrong. And I've worked for companies that did things terribly wrong. Um, but they've done it in house. They've done it the same way forever, and they don't want anyone telling them what to do because they're not wired that way. Because the industry kind of attracts people who want to be mavericks, who want to set their own pace, and they don't want someone telling them how to do it, even if it's doing it better. I've got a book here that says How to Know Fabrics from 1923. None of the fabrics we use today. there's only like 4 fabrics back then. The industry has changed so radically, not in 100 years, but in the last 10 years. And people don't like change.
I once heard an instructor say to a class that the industry's full of rebels. Kind of the same thing, Mark,
Yeah.
you were talking about. We have our way of doing it, and this is how we do it, and we've done it so long. So today's conversation can be an eye opener for those because it isn't, you're not telling people they're doing it wrong. We all want to improve, and that little bit of direction or correction, whatever you want to call it, is going to make us better. So with this same question, Leslie, did you have anything to add to it?
Change is hard for a lot of folks, but I will tell you, if you're looking to grow your business and you're open to change, big opportunities are on the horizon.
Darren, we're going to go to you on the next question. And now we've talked about standards already, but where do they really fit into this conversation? How much do they impact what we do?
It is a great question, and I think that really is the key to what we do because years ago, ISRC made the determination to go with the ANSI process, and it wasn't an easy thing to become an ANSI accredited standards writing organization. But in doing so, the process really says what's happening now. One of the things Mark said I think is important, and it's a blessing and a curse, is that there's so many rebels, I guess, in any industry. But we have this balance of consistency and rebels, and the rebels figure out what's good and what needs to be changed, and also maybe what doesn't work. And the whole process behind updating a standard or creating a standard is saying, what are prudent members, qualified members of that trade doing right now? And then because of the consensus process and because of the public review, everyone can say, that's not working anymore, or we need to update that, or this is where we are now. And so for moving from where we were to where we are in a consistent and as necessary rebellious manner, the standards are the absolute key. And I think any one of us would go, I sure hope my doctor's not using his textbook from 10 years ago just because it's comfortable and that's what he's always done. And so as people trust us to come into their homes and their businesses to clean, restore, do whatever we do, we have to be aware of what the best solution is for their particular home or business at that time.
And for the record, we are not saying being a rebel is a bad thing at all. We're just saying it's usually it's the entrepreneurial spirit, right? You do your own thing, you make
Right.
your own decisions. So that's what we mean by that. Want to put that out there just in case. All right. So Mark, anything to add to that thought?
The only thing worse than training someone and having them go somewhere else is not training them and having them stay. Standards also protect us from snake oil salesmen. It means that what is in the standard is true and works and can be relied on. And so it not only informs us, but it protects the carpet cleaner and the structural drying and the rest of the industry.
Good point. Appreciate that. Leslie, anything to add to that? You get our next question. So what do you think?
Yeah, quickly, I will add that IICRC standards give us consistency, right? That means if I do a job, Darren does a job, and Mark does a job, we all are going to see it very similarly. The customer is the winner there, right? They're going to get a consistent work product from all 3 of us as we're following the same standards of care to dry their home, put it back together, or clean it.
Okay. So Leslie, this question for you. Many companies struggle with balancing old school practical knowledge with newer systems and processes. Talk about balance. What is a healthy balance between experience and adaptability look like to you?
Yeah, it starts with your team for me, because if your team is willing to do these things, it transcends. So, good leadership within your team to say, hey, what is the practice that we've always done? And then look at it with the process that we're now using, or the technology we're now using, or the standard of care that's in play. So, taking what they know and marrying it in a team environment to get the ultimate best practice in the end, where it's a combination of both old and new.
And Darren, what does it look like to you, a healthy balance? Do you have anything to add?
I kind of along those lines, I just think there's so much to be gained when we're willing to listen and learn and understand. And in the most simplistic way, I remember the days of trying to clamp lay flat ducting to dehumidifiers and air filtration devices before they came out with duct rings. And the first equipment I had for extracting water was a 3-gallon Thermex carpet cleaner and some air movers. And we didn't know about dehumidifiers or meters back then. And so the process is so critical. We realize that not only is what's happening now important to do it correctly, but it makes our lives so much easier and so much better in the process.
Newer restoration professionals probably would scratch their head at what you just said, but we get it.
I'm glad to learn about truck mounts, pumps, and pump outs. Put it that way.
Exactly. And Mark, what do you think?
The first time I took the water damage class was maybe 25 or so years ago. And it was the only thing they talked about was drying the carpet. It was float the carpet, throw away the pad, float the carpet, and you're done. Everybody there was a carpet cleaner. The second time I took it 20 years later, everybody there was a contractor, and it was all about structural drying. It's a completely different industry than it was 25, 30 years ago. I mean, completely. And if you didn't keep up on it, you were all probably out of business by now, because it's not the same industry. And if it weren't for the standards, you wouldn't know.
I agree. And I think a lot of industries could have this same conversation when you think about advancements in technology, procedures, what they do. But, we're talking cleaning and restoration here. So how important it is to not only stay advanced, but to do it for your clients as well. Darren, our last question, we'll start with you. Talk to our audience. What advice would you give to longtime professionals who may feel overwhelmed or even perhaps insulted by the idea that they still need training or continuing education because they think I don't want to say all, just there might be some out there that think they got it.
Yeah, I know how to dry, I know how to clean. I've been doing it for 38 years. What else is there out there? And the principles and processes are largely unchanged. It's just the new, equipment like Mark was talking about. It's such a different, we're not using carpet cleaning tools to restore anymore. We have our own tools for that and the new things that have come out for carpet. So I think if you're willing to learn and change, break it down in small chunks. Look at how it can affect you. Have fun learning things. Go to the provider's website or their YouTube channel. And when I say provider, I mean, equipment manufacturer, the people you're getting stuff from, and learn what they have to teach you, what they have to tell you. Listen for the terms that you've used a million times. I was in a class talking about dwell time on antimicrobial, and someone said, "What is that?" And it's like, good point. So listen to the things we say all the time and think, do I really understand that? And could I really explain it very well? So, read a few pages of the standard that affects your industry. Look for the shoulds and the shalls and say, am I implementing these? Do I understand what they are and why they're there? And get involved when the standards come out and go for a public review. That is the time you've got a voice to say, well, one, to learn what's changed, and two, to say, hey, this needs to be different, and here's how and why. Go to a trade show. There's so many fun ways to learn about the new stuff that's happening, and go visit with other people in the industry and learn from them. I've always loved in our industries how people want to share. Now, having said that, I hate to break this to you guys, everything on the internet is not true. There's some real horrible things on Facebook about, and that's where we see things. After 48 hours, it's now a category 2. Well, not according to this S500 anymore. And so we need to learn and stay up, but it can be fun to do. It can be done incrementally and in productive and enjoyable ways.
Good words, Darren. Thank you for that. And Leslie, what would you like to add? People that think they don't need that training, or they don't need that advanced knowledge.
Yeah, I would just say, for me, if I were to not have embraced a lot of the new technology in education, I probably wouldn't have advanced as far in my career, because it gave me a stepping stone to learn more, experience more, be a part of standards, volunteer my time. And so, and I think good leaders within your team want to learn more. They have a thirst to be at the cutting edge of education. Hire people for your team that want that desire that to improve not only your business, but themselves and the team they manage as well.
Thank you, Leslie. And Mark, you get the last word. What would you tell these longtime professionals who don't see the value in moving into more education or training?
Well, first, I want to say I'm honored to be on this panel with people who have basically dedicated their lives and their careers to the IICRC and to the industry. Thank you for allowing me. But in this industry, you've heard the phrase knowledge is power. Well, knowledge is also confidence. And in our industry, knowledge is a continued income and hopefully a legacy of income that will carry on past us. Well, if you don't know what you're doing, your business will die because somebody else does know what they're doing.